Yes, Lucas Espanol.
How do you do number 3?
How do I do it, or how do you do it? I hope we would do it the same way. A gallon of paint covers 400 square feet, so how many gallons are needed to paint the warehouse? So you already know this is how many square feet you have. If each gallon does 400 feet squared, how do you suppose that you would do that? It's just a division problem. 12,000 square feet, every gallon does 400. Okay, 400 doesn't go into 1, it doesn't go into 12, it doesn't go into 120. It goes in 1,200 3 times, you get 1,200, then you still have to bring down to 0. So you're going to end up with 30 gallons of paint. If every gallon covers 400 feet squared. How many 400s are in 12,000? Nikki Collum.
I'm like struggling with 11 and 12 equations.
Perfect. Review on equations because they're both done the same way. Our goal with equations is to get the letter by itself, correct? That's one thing you remember. The second thing to remember is you always do the opposite to get the letter by itself. In other words, what type of an equation is this? This is both a multiplication equation and a subtraction equation, because you have multiplication here, subtraction there. So to solve it, I'm going to do the opposite of those, which is addition and division. You always do the addition division stuff first when it comes to equations. So the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of a minus 1.8 by adding 1.8. Because when I take a minus plus a plus 1, it goes away, but I have to add 1.8 here. When I add those, I get 4.2. Now I have 2x equals that. This is 2 times x. The opposite of multiplication is division. Brandon, you can feel free to write notes down too for this if you like. Right. Divide by 2. Divide by 2. If you take 2 into 4.2, you get 2.1. 2.1. Same thing for 12. If I believe that's an addition sign. This is also a multiplication, but this is an addition part. So you think opposite of that, you're going to subtract. I subtract 1/3. I subtract 1/3. Common denominator, you'd have to do all this. This is 12. 4 12ths. This is 9 12ths. 4 times 3, 3 times 3. 9 12ths minus 4 12ths is 5 12ths. Now everybody please look up here because I had too many people ask me this question from before. If you learn nothing from today, then this. If you have an equation that has a fraction in front of the letter, I'll ask you this a million times from now till you're in the end of 8th grade. How do you get rid of a fraction in front of the letter? How do I get rid of I want my x to be by itself. How do I get rid of a 1/2 in front? Anytime there's a fraction, you should just think one simple little thing, and that is to flip and multiply. Okay, to get rid of this fraction here, you are just going to multiply by its reciprocal. And you're going to multiply this by the same thing. Because when you multiply by reciprocal, what do you get? Everything crosses off, you're left with just a x. Over here, you multiply by 2 over 1, you get 10 12ths. And then you can just reduce that down to 5 over 6. The quiz I gave you all yesterday had one problem on it like that. And bazillions of people come up to me and ask me that. Recognize, when you get a fraction in front of a letter, you're going to flip and multiply by its opposite. Just flip and multiply. Love it. You know why I love 7th grade? Sage.
Can you do number 4?
Last time I checked, yes. That was a while ago. 1, 2, 3, really, 4. Number 4, children, is right here. What is the area of the quadrilateral? All right, Sage, well, what do we got there? There actually is a formula for a trapezoid, but we don't know it yet, so we're going to do the method that's called divide and conquer. Correct? We're going to find the area of this rectangle, and to that we're going to add the area of this triangle, correct? Yes, Mr. Hahn, that's a good idea, let's do that. Let's do the rectangle first, Sage. What is the dimensions of my rectangle? 16 times, here's where people can make mistakes. The question is it 16 times 22 or is it 16 times 10? Because they both touch it. It's only 10 because it only goes up to there. So the area of the rectangle is 16 times 10, which is 160. That's my rectangle. Area of a triangle, which note to self is 1/2 base times height. If you miss out on that 1/2 thing, then you get the wrong answer. What is the base and the height of my triangle? Again, here,
16 and 12.
16 and 12, well done. Because it's 10 from here to here, you know that the piece left over has to be 12 in order to add up to 22. So it's 1/2 of 16 times 12. And lucky for you, you can do that multiplication any way you like. I'll take half of 16 and get 8. 8 times 12 is 96. That's the area of my triangle. Area of both of them put together is 256. Area is always in square units, so it should be in centimeters squared. That would be the area of the whole quadrilateral. Shall I forge ahead to the perimeter while we're on that same subject? Might as well, let's just make sure you got that. For the perimeter, okay, that's the distance around. You've got the 22, you've got the 16, you've got the 10, but then everyone starts to panic because I don't know what that hypotenuse of that triangle is. But I probably can figure it out, Hananusa. Why? Pythagorean theorem. I've got a 12-16 triangle, and I look over here. Oh no, there is no 12-16.
3, 4.
Alright, but you have to recognize it's a proportion, it's a ratio of the 3, 4. If you divide them both by 4, you get 3 and 4. That makes this 5, but it's not really 5 because I have to go back to reverse the ratio there. I need to multiply that by 4 to get back to what it should be. This is a 20. So your perimeter is going to be what you get when you add all those together, which is 8, 2, 4, looks like 68. Perimeter is just straight up units, so 68 centimeters. Am I right on that? I've done things wrong before. Sometimes the big board is. Did you write that down, Brandon, or no? No? You don't need it. You got that one. Got it. Perfect. Jack! Jack's gonna ask us.
17. I don't get
Jack,
how you got the answer.
then we shall, Jack, persevere and overcome. I said to make this 9 because I just don't know why they put an A there, even though they did it that way. So, ladies and gentlemen, with scientific notation, and I had tons of people miss this on quiz 2s, okay, do not, I repeat, do not change these into their standard numbers and try to do the math there. Too many digits, you're just going to get it's way much too complicated to do that. When you do division with scientific notation, you just divide the left side and you divide the right side and make sure your answer is in scientific notation. And it's just as simple as this. 9 divided by 4, Jack, did you come up with that?
No, I forgot that I divided this up.
4 goes into 9 twice. You get 8. Bring down that. It's 2.5. That's a good deal. Now, the issue is, how do I divide by 10 to the 8th divided by 10 to the 4th? When you divide numbers that have same bases together, what do you do with their exponents? You just simply subtract. 4 from 8 is 4. That would be the note I'd write to myself. I put a little thing there and say, make sure you subtract exponents. And then make sure that this answer is in scientific notation. It is, because 2.5 is between 1 and 10. And we might just as well do the multiplication one since we're there. Same thing. Do not change them into their standard form. Don't make this 1,200,000 or whatever it is. You just need to multiply the two left numbers together. 6 times 1.2 is 7.2. Write down your times 10. And then what do you do when you multiply like bases together? you add their exponents, and that's, I believe, a 5. 5 and 7 is 12. Problem done. No confusion, no hysteria. Maybe some diphtheria. I don't know what any of those things are, but it sounds good. Rockwell, sir?
Number 1, I don't know.
El numero, no, might as well start at the beginning, as they say, huh? Ratio of in-state to out-of-state visitors in the amusement park was 5 to 2 if there were 14,000 visitors to the park, how many were out of state? What are we gonna do here? Austin, what am I gonna do? Draw a ratio box, perfect. What two things am I comparing? I am comparing in-state to out-of-state, and when I put the in-states and the outer states together, I get totals. And here is my ratio, and here is my actual numbers. Who asked me that one? Rockwell?
Yeah.
Fill in the blanks for me there, Rockwell. What's my ratio of in to out?
5 to 2.
So there's my in, 5, there's my out, 2. Well, if you have 5 and 2, what's that total add up to?
7.
7. So there's my whole ratio total box. Now the problem is, what do I know of my actuals? What is 14,000?
12.
So 14,000 goes here. I guess I didn't make the box big enough. And then I want to know which one?
Addison.
I want to know the out of state, so this is the one I need to know. I can ignore this because it doesn't come into play in solving this. This is just this fraction equal to that fraction. And you can solve that pretty simply by this. 7 times what is 14,000? 2,000. So multiply 2 times 2,000 and you're going to get 4,000. And that would be the number of out-of-state folks. Jackson.
I don't understand.
15, ladies and gentlemen. I love 15. If I was going to make a test, I'd make them all probably 15s. What part about this Jackson is throwing us for a loop?
I don't know.
No, what's the first thing I do? Do I do the subtraction first or the multiplication? Board of Operations say I must do
Division. No, multiplication.
multiplication. So did you multiply those together?
Yes, but I think I did it through.
Could be. How do I multiply mixed numbers together, John?
You have to make them proper.
Make them improper. So this becomes 8 thirds times 3 halves. And the beautiful thing about that is, what happens there, Corinne? Exactly. The 3's cross off. 2 goes into 8 4 times, so the whole kit and caboodle ends up just being a 4. And maybe, just maybe, you can do 4 minus 3 and 3/4 in your head, but if not, how do I do that? I need to borrow from the 4. What does the fraction over there become? 4 over 4, because that's the same as 1. And then 4/4 minus 3/4 is, in fact, 1/4.
Thank you.
Problem 16, anyone? Going once, going twice, going twice? No? He has problems with 16? You do, Lucas, or is that? No, what do you got, Lucas?
I still don't do.
Wait, what part of 15? Stop me at what part? You didn't understand how to multiply?
How do you do it?
Well, here's what I had there, because I had 8 over 3 times 3 over 2. You know how I got that, right? Improper fractions?
Yeah.
2 times 3 plus 2. Well, if cross-canceling throws you for a loop, multiply it out. What's 8 times 3? 24. What's 3 times 2?
6.
How many times is 6 124? 4. But rather than doing all that, you can just reduce before you multiply by crossing lightnings off. No, multiplying you don't do common denominators. Although I suppose it would work. It would just make your life way miserable. Sage.
Can you number 6? 'Cause I got 524.
Sure, one part of my life I did. 6?
6, please.
I don't know where 6 went. Must be over here somewhere. There it is. Jeremy, can you really? 144 words in 4 minutes. How many words can he type in 10 minutes? Well, probably the best thing to do, Sage, is figure out how many words he can type in 1 minute.
36.
So you did 144 words over 4 minutes, and you ended up with 36 words in 1 minute. Okay? Now, in reality, Sage, this is what we call a unit multiplier. And you could use it like a unit multiplier. Okay? I want minutes to cross off. Okay? I start with this, Sage. I start with 10 minutes, right? 10 minutes over 1. If I want minutes to cross off, I'm just going to multiply just like it is. 36 words in 1 minute. It's just going to be 10 times 36, which is 360. Or it's common sense, I suppose. If you type 36 words in just 1 minute, how many will you do in 10? It's just 36 times 10. W, P, M. Lauren? 7.
Say like, cause my paper, I didn't like do the whole entire thing. I just did the 144 and divided.
So that's. Are you asking me if I need to see your work?
No, you need to see the proportion of the
No.
things.
Because generally speaking, if you do it your own, I'm fine with that. I mean, unless I really question, and I don't think you could do it that way, and I thought maybe you did cheat it or something. If you want to, you can use your method however you want on the test. I don't look at how you got your answer very often, unless it's something I think looks a little fishy. Jackson?
I don't understand number 7.
Number 7. Now there's a good one to take your notes with too there. How do you find tax?
Multiply?
Multiply, did you?
Yes.
And what did you change? The other part where most people go wrong is changing this to a decimal. What is 7.5% taxed as a decimal? Sir. I know I got $12.40 here. What am I multiplying $12.40 by?
7.
That'd be 7.5. If I multiply by 7.5, that's 750%. You need to change this to a decimal. What does percent mean out of 100? Which means to change it to a decimal, you have to divide it by 100. Where does the decimal go if I divide this by 100? Not only in front, but you have to move it 2 places, so there's actually 0.075. There would be the notes to myself. I would say something about, hey, to change a percent to a decimal, move the decimal right 2 places. That would be the note I would talk to myself. Jackson, I'm gonna guess you probably got the right digits, just the decimal in the wrong place. Did you end up with something like $940 or something? What did you end up with?
93.
Does that make sense that on a $12.40 purchase you'd have to pay $93 in tax? Not for me either. 5 times 0, 5 times that is 20, carry the 2, 10, 12, 0, 0, 8, 2, 16, 1, 7, 8, 0, 0, 0, 8. Was it 88 cents? It was 93 cents, that's what I got. I have to multiply that, my numbers got too big here. Some of that, 28, 2, 14, 16, 1, 8. Where did I go wrong? Oh, this is 60, so start at 6. Yeah, so was that 93 cents? Laura?
For that problem number 17 where we had to change it on the test,
That's a good question, let me look and see. No, see, this one is, I don't get it, but it, no,
That's okay. So we're done.
you are good on that. No letters there. Jackson? Still look like the right time.
Can you help me with number 9?
I will. Did we do 9 already? 9's up here, first problem on the thing. Number 9, let me erase what I got up here that keeps, I'm assuming you drew the picture, right?
Yes.
A lawn sprinkler sprays a circular pattern 14 feet out from the sprinkler. So here's your sprinkler. Okay, it's gonna shoot water and make a circle here as it shoots its water. It said it was 14 feet. The sprinkler shoots the water 14 feet. About how many square feet of lawn does the sprinkler water? Right here's the key word. Square feet. Anytime you're asked for square feet, that is what thing in math? Square feet is area. So note to self, problem number 9 is probably going to ask me the area, which is pi of a circle is pi times radius times radius. Sticking in the numbers there, it said to use this for pi. So 22 over 7 times 14 over 1 times 14 over 1. Now what's the nice thing there? Again, you can cross cancel what with what? Shell hammer. I got 22 over 7 times 14 over 1 times 14 over 1. What can I cross off? Yeah, this 7 will cross off with one of these two 14s and get a 2. So when I do my math, I do 22 times 2 times 14, or 22 times 2 is 44 times 14. You get what? 16, 176, and 44 is 616? Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Check.
I remember 8. I don't get how it equals 30 instead of 32.
Did I already do it already?
No, I don't think so.
Number 8 down here. 6, 7, 8. 40% of the students in the class are boys, and there are 18 girls in the class, and how many students are in the class? You don't get how it's 30 or 32.
30.
Alright, did you do a fraction slash ratio slash percent box?
Yeah.
Alright, so look like this. Instead of ratios, we're using percents this time. What are we comparing?
Oh,
Boys to girls, and there's our total. 40% are boys, so that means what percent are girls?
60.
And that's a grand total of 100%. What do I know? 18 of them are what? Girls, correct? So 18 goes here. And what am I looking for? Looking for how many boys or how many total?
How many children?
Right, so this is the one I want, right? And I don't need this because it's a box there. So my equal ratios are 60 over 100 equals 18 over what number? I don't know. Now at first glance, one might say, oh, this looks difficult. But it's made much simpler if you do what?
Divide.
You just reduce this fraction. Knock off those ending zeros. It is now 6 over 10. 6 times what is 18? 3. 10 times 3 is 30. Now how did you end up doing it, Jack?
I thought the 40% equals 14. Maybe.
You just thought it equaled 14?
Yeah, because
But you're straightened out now, right? Sage!
maybe number 14.
I would love to. Well, I haven't done it already. We're close to the end here. We've almost done them all. 14. I'm guessing these are plus signs. Yes, no? Oh, that's an dead spot there. What do you have to do for 14? First of all, get rid of the parentheses. We love that property we call the distributive property. So you're going to take 3 times both of these things. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times 2 is 6. Now, if you didn't catch that, it's just multiplying by everything outside by the inside. Same thing over here. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 3 is 6. Okay. Now here's where a lot of people go wrong, ladies and gentlemen. I am not multiplying here. Okay, I'm only adding things together. I will not get any x squareds because the only way to get an x squared is to multiply an x times an x. I am simply adding things together. I have 3 x's and I add 2 more x's to it. That means I have 5 x's. It's like having 3 7th graders plus another 2 7th graders. I get 5 7th graders. I don't get 5 49th graders or whatever they are. Okay. 2, 3 plus 2, you get 5x, and 6 plus 6 is 12. 5x plus 12. Same thing with this one. I'm adding, I'm not multiplying, I'm not going to get x squareds because there's no x squareds there. 3 x's, is that minus x or plus?
Plus
Minus,
y.
well, it's a minus x. So 3 x's take away an x, gives me 2 x's. And 2 y's plus another y gives me 3 y's. I don't get any y squareds, I don't get any x squareds, I'm not multiplying. Allison? 12 again. The first time didn't take. What part didn't we get here? Which part is giving you trouble? Well, what did you do first? Why don't you throw that at me?
I minus 1 1/3 and minus it by 1/3.
Perfect. So then did you make common denominators, Allison?
From 3/4 I minus 1/3. I think
But you can't do fractions, they have to have the same denominator to actually subtract. So you gotta change its common denominator, which is 12. 3 times 4 is 12, 1 times 4 is 4, 4 times 3 is 12, 3 times 3, so it's 9 12ths minus 4 12ths. You have to get 5 12ths when you subtract those. Did you get 5 12ths? Okay. And then here, class, the review I was hoping for, how do you get rid of a fraction in front of a letter? Flip it and multiply it. You multiply by 2 over 1, multiply by 2 over 1. That's going to give you the 10 over 12 that we ended up with, because that reduces to 5 over 6. Our time is always so short. Question on that, Allison? What part?
I have to try to see where I left
Okay. And that's what it's all about. Jackson. Love number 19, especially since it's right there. The interior dimensions of Sal's fridge is 5 feet by 2.5 by 2. Find the volume.
Yeah.
What's volume? Length times width times height.
Yeah.
And this thing was 5 feet high by 2.5 by 2. So you just have to multiply those together. 5 times 2 and 1/2 times 2. How do I do that, Jackson? I'm going to have to
Oh, Jesus.
change it to improper. 5 over 1 times 5 over 2 times 2. And look, once again, cross canceling gets me there. It's just 5 times 5, which is 25 feet cubed.
Thank you.
Anybody on number 20? Did you plug the numbers in there, Jackson? 1/2 times A plus B times H. And I will encourage you, ladies and gentlemen, when you see problems like this too, First step is put parentheses where all the letters are. And then plug in the numbers, because that'll just help you keep things straight. A is 6, B is 8, and H is 4. What is 6 plus 8, Jackson?
14.
So it's 1/2 times 14 times 4. How would I do that, Jackson?
214 times 7.
You want to do 14 times 4? Sure. 14 times 4 is 56, so now I have 1/2 times 56. How do I do half times 56? Put 56 over 1, that equals 56 over 2, and then I need to divide 2 into 56, which is, again, what are we left with, kids? Let's look. This is the best part of the day. Didn't do 10. Didn't really do 16. Otherwise, we did them all, huh?